Hello, my name is Natasha Doherty from the Bathurst campus. I have chosen to look at what makes an effective K-2 literacy classroom, and I will then focus on young literacy learners as speakers, listeners, readers, writers, viewers, and creators. Firstly, what is literacy, and why should it be an important part of our everyday classroom routine? It is commonly thought that literacy is based around children reading books and writing. However, literacy involves more. Literacy is the broader term for a range of skills such as comprehension, vocabulary, and phonemic awareness. Children of today were born into what Seeley, Flint, Kitson, Lowe, and Shaw describe as a kaleidoscope of images, print, and sound. They suggest that literacy involves the way in which we use forms of and a mixture of media, such as print, visual, audio technologies, and meaning making. There are three main models that teachers can use within the classroom. The industrial model, focusing on standardization. The inquiry model, focusing on children making decisions about their learning. And the critical model, encouraging children to question the norm, providing a more global context of learning. We want to encourage students to question and take control of their learning, especially in literacy. Therefore, it is important that we set up our classroom to involve inquiry and critical-based learning. Campbell suggests 8 conditions that need to be in an environment for effective learning to occur. These conditions include immersion, which involves surrounding children with a variety of authentic texts. Demonstration, example, modeling. Use, giving children the time to practice and experiment with language. Feedback, which comes from both the teacher and peers when collaborating. Approximation, involving the experimentation of language. Responsibility, which follows the inquiry model previously mentioned, giving children the means to take their learning into their own hands. Expectation, where the teacher has expectations for success and development. And finally, engagement, which according to Campbell is identified as one of the most important conditions. It is important that the learners are interested and involved with what they are learning about. The literacy block of the day is the designated time for developing and practicing literacy skills. During this time, many key components are used, including an introduction, whole class activities, guided reading and writing, independent reading, reading aloud to and with students, and sharing and reflecting. It is important to allow time for students to be guided by the teacher, work independently, and collaborate with peers. In the classroom I observed, the teacher allowed time for these tasks to be completed and also got the class to lead their own whole class activities. For example, students took turns in reading aloud to the class. However, having an effective literacy classroom isn't just about the activities students undertake, but also the environment. Students should be surrounded by numerous texts, such as print, images, sound, and digital media, as shown by the many examples of text around the classroom I observed. There are simple examples of text within the classroom, which include charts, labels, and diagrams. This shows students the different types of texts and how each can be used in an effective way, depending on the intended audience and purpose. Students are also given the chance to practice their reading when reading labelled items. An environment enriched with literature includes resources that both the teacher and students have access to. Flint et al. Outlines the classroom library, that they are very important as they contain authentic texts that are constantly changed and have a variety of difficulty, genres, and topics. When it comes to the literacy learners themselves and developing skills in all areas of literacy, we can look more to the programs implemented in the classroom. These programs are designed by the teacher and should take into consideration the interests of students. According to Campbell, this increases the engagement and quality of learning. Literacy programs should follow the 6 principles of teaching, reading, and writing. These principles outline how beliefs about literacy are culturally and socially constructed. The literacy is best learned through inquiry. Learners use their background knowledge and cultural understandings to make sense of texts, and that literacy practices need to be relevant to the real world. Children naturally want to learn to read and write. Vygotsky's zone of proximal development implies that literacy programs scaffold the progress of students, whereas modelling shows children how to read and write, use different types of text, draw meaning, and at the same time develop listening and viewing skills. Transitions through the stages of reading and writing is very important for students. We need to constantly assess through both formal and informal means, ensuring that children continue to learn. Assessments such as running records assess the level a student is at in terms of reading. Some teachers use these levels to create reading groups and spelling groups. Programs should include tasks that allow students to work independently and collaboratively. Such tasks include independent reading and writing. These were implemented each morning by the teacher, as observed through the silent reading for 10 minutes. It is important for students to read to each other. This was also implemented in the literacy program observed, as the students participate in pair-share reading. This involves students reading a section of a chosen book to another student, and then telling their partner about the book. These books are taken home the weekend before, where students are encouraged to read at home. Reading aloud develops speaking skills, and summarizing the book allows students to develop skills in conveying their thoughts through verbal communication. It is important that as teachers we do not fall into the trap of believing that literacy is just reading and writing. Teachers should set activities that encourage students to go deeper into texts. This was implemented every morning after doing reading. The children would choose a comprehension task and write about their text. Young literacy learners do not only need to know how to read text and write about text, they also need to know how to create a text. Learners should be encouraged to be creative in writing their own stories, constructing their own images, and use those to create multimodal texts, such as ebooks. In summary, literacy practices are vital skills to teach in the classroom and are a crucial part in becoming an effective user and participant in the literacy world. We should guide and support students as well as encourage them to be creative and experiment with text. Classrooms should be rich in text and encourage reading and writing development in all children.